Even more cards have been revealed since we last discussed Lorcana's upcoming set, Rise of the Floodborn. Will we finally see some Pinocchio cards? Let's find out. Welcome, Rebels, and today we have another laid-back video for you here, talking about some new cards that have been revealed, either in like the test kits or just stuff that's dropped. So we're gonna just jump right in.
Yeah, so we got 8 more cards for you guys, and the first one, probably one of the most exciting ones from this next set, I'd say, is Bucky, Squirrel Speak Tutor.
Squirrel Squeak Tutor.
Oh, sorry. Yes. It is a Emerald card. 2 cost, inkable, awesome. 1 strength, 1 willpower, so will not survive basically anything except for the fact that, he has Ward. So you're not going to be hitting him with Dragon Fire or Smash or Fire the Cannons. However, his ability, Squeak, whenever you play a Floodborn character, each opponent chooses and discards a card. So this is the first time we've seen them specifically call out one of Floodborn, Dreamborn, Storyborn. This is the first card of this kind. We've seen them call out Princess and Villain before, but this is the first when it comes to that main universe.
Yeah, and we're hoping that this means that we're going to be getting even more cards that have to do with specific card types, because like a card we talked about last time, there was the Raya card. It's basically identical to a Dreamborn Scar card in the first chapter, except, just the art is different, but also the characteristics are different. So, she's a hero, he's a villain, she's Storyborn, he's Dreamborn. So it's where you might think, what's the difference between the two? It will matter when you're trying to combo with different cards. And I think this is our first kind of look at that. And I find it interesting because this seems like the kind of card where you throw it out there and then you just never quest with it. Because, if you quest with it, that's such a good ability that someone's just going to kill it. Or banish it immediately. So, for me, if I were to have this card, I'd kind of wait until I have some Floodborn characters I could play, put it out there, and then just never quest with it because it can't be challenged and it can't be targeted.
Yeah, this is actually huge towards the meta of the game altogether with it, with this new ability being this way. And the reason is, like you just said, it's only 1 lore if you quest with it. There's no point to ever quest with it. You drop it down, let it stay there, that they can't target it with any chosen attacks, and then as long as it's not exerted, you're not questing with it, and you don't have to exert it for the ability to happen. Now, where this is going to be, so why this changes the meta, Elsa, where she makes you be exerted, that's going to be that card already is a top card, but that'll be
you can't target him with that card though.
She just exerts cards no matter what.
Well, but he has Ward though.
I do believe that...
Because you can't choose him, so you can't choose him to be one of the cards, because you have to choose 2 cards to be exerted. If it was I think there is a card that lets you exert all cards or something, so maybe splash damage, maybe something like that, but I know with the, the Spirit of Winter Elsa, it does say choose 2 cards to exert, and they can't ready up, or I don't even think you exert them, either you exert them or you just can't ready them, but it does have to do with choosing, so even her, or the one below her, still can't target him to exert him in any way to make him challengeable because he has Ward. So that's what kind of makes it kind of really strong there.
Yeah, he's definitely strong, and we're definitely going to see him used in basically every Emerald deck possible.
Yeah. So the next card we're going to talk about is Knight in Training Cinderella. Now this is a steel card, cost 2 strength, 2 willpower. It's Dreamborn, and her ability is when you play this character, you may draw a card, then choose and discard a card. So it's very similar to the Simba that's in the steel deck as well, the 1 cost Simba, but she's cost 2, and the thing with her is we've already seen the other steel Cinderella card in this game that's a Floodborn character, so this would be the one that you shift onto. So... she's 1 more cost than that Simba one, but she will have some use, especially if you run her with that really powerful, resist to Cinderella Floodborn character card there. But I don't think there's anything else more about her Do you got something to say? I'm sorry if you want to
not
talk too much there.
No, not at all. I mean, I wouldn't spend much time on this card in general because, like you're saying, it's the base for you getting out the big Cinderella that we previewed in the very first preview. It's a Shift 5, that big one. So this is the base, to get you out to that. So the next card we have is an action card, and it is our first Jungle Book card. Ka is the art. It is Hypnotize is the name of it. 3 cost, inkable. And each opponent chooses and discards a card, and then you draw a card. So, for me, it's a common card. People have lots of them. It's Emerald, by the way. And for me, I don't know necessarily right out of the gate where we're going to be using this one, because you don't get to choose what the person discards.
Yeah, I don't think there's any card in the game that allows you to choose what the opponent discards.
Not
Any
yet.
card that makes an opponent discard, they get to choose.
Right.
Typically.
Yeah, so I mean, I guess if they had one card in their hand, but then they still get to draw a card back, so...
Well, it's... No, you draw.
Oh, yes, you're right.
So
okay,
they
yeah.
discard a card and then you draw a card, so they don't draw any cards. And I can tell you right now that making an opponent discard can be really useful, because when I was playing in like a mini tournament 2 days ago, I had one card left in my hand. It was the 8 Maui, and the person played Sudden Chill, and I had to discard the card, and I was like, well, that sucks, and it really hurt me like the entire rest of the game, because I just couldn't really do anything after that. I had, all I was drawn in was like smaller cards, cost cards, and I wasn't able to get a lot of lore, and I ended up losing. Or it's just like even something simple like that, it is useful, especially when you get to draw a card too, because I believe Sudden Chill just makes them discard.
Yeah, so I was reading that wrong because I thought both people got to draw a card, but you're right. Yeah, so I still personally think there's better cards out there for getting people to discard cards. And I also don't think, if somebody's playing Amethyst, where they can just keep drawing cards anyways with the Maleficents and the Friends on the Other Side and all of that, I don't know how super helpful this is, but... For
non-Emerald Amethyst decks. And like I said, it's you have to judge how much it's worth, because I believe Sudden Chill is cost 2, inkable, and it's a song, which means you can have somebody sing it. Whereas this is cost 3 in action, still inkable, so that's why I'd say, still having 1 or maybe 2 in your deck would still be kind of useful, because situationally it could be, but it can also just be, something you turn into ink.
Yeah, I think that one's it is very situational. I just don't see it as I don't think this is a must-have in an Emerald deck, whereas Bucky was a definite.
Or with the next card we're going to talk about that I think is a must-have, Improvise. It's art of, from Mulan at the end of the movie there, when she's, fighting the main villain there. I almost said fighting Shao Kahn, and I just realized that that's not his name. That is some other non-Disney stuff there. His name's just left my head. Oh, Shan Yu. That's it. But it's cost 1, inkable, an action, and chosen character gets +1 strength this turn, and you draw a card. I think for a cost 1 card, to be able to just draw a card alone is kind of useful, but then you can also, in case it, I find it to be useful sometimes, allows you to give one of your characters +1 strength too. I think that's quite good.
Yeah, and this one's common again. And so to me, exactly what you're saying, this is what I throw in my deck over Hypnotize. I know Hypnotize gets rid of another person's card, but I would rather boost my strength and draw a card than...
I think it would also depend on if you're doing 3 or 4 player games as well, because each opponent discards a card.
You're right.
With Hypnotize.
You're right. In 4-player games, Hypnotize will probably definitely see more play.
Yeah.
So...
But yeah, I mean, not much else to talk about. I mean, here's the thing. For me, I'm seeing all these new Mulan cards. We only had 1 from the last set, I believe, and Mulan's one of my favorite Disney movies, so bring them on, please.
Absolutely. So the next card that I have to talk about is a character, Ruby character, and it is Minnie Mouse Wide-Eyed Diver. So 4 cost inkable, 2 strength, 3 willpower, shift 2, which...
Well, you're on turn 2.
Right. How many shift 2s do we see?
I know there's a shift 3, which I think that the Aurora is, right?
I think you're right, yeah.
But I don't know if we have a shift 2.
So shift
She's only
2.
cost 2 though, because I think all Floodborn cards are shift and then -2 from their cost, correct?
Right.
So that'd probably be why with that one.
So we currently do have the Minnie Mouse that's a 1 cost, which is
Yeah.
probably what you would shift this onto. I don't think we're going to get another Ruby Minnie Mouse to shift onto here. She's evasive, which is awesome. Ruby doesn't need any more evasive characters, but still cool.
That's all they're good at. Or I guess not all they're good, but I mean, that's where all the good evasive cards are.
And then her ability, Undersea Adventure. Whenever you play a second action in a turn, this character gets +2 lore this turn. And she normally only can quest for 1 lore. So you play a second action and she gets to go up to 3 lore. So she could be very useful. Very situational again. I don't think you're going to see her in every deck, but I do think that she has potential.
Yeah, it'd be one where it's like, I throw one of them into my deck, maybe with some of the minis, or, it's a potential where it's like, it's good to just have another evasive card out there sometimes, but if you do have like an action-heavy deck, like maybe you're playing it along with like some Amethyst or Steel, which has a lot of action cards in those. That could be very useful too. So, what I'm kind of noticing now is like these cards that we're seeing is a lot more like building decks around specific types of things, which I think is very interesting because, it allows for, one, Ruby Emerald deck to be played completely differently from another Ruby Emerald deck. Because one person can build it around, which I'm throwing in more actions to work around this, whereas somebody could, just throw in more, characters, or, if they're looking for, from the Bucky card, they're just focusing on throwing in more Floodborn characters. So and that's what I think is the most interesting about this one is, you can have people with 2 completely similar decks, and I guess in a lot of non-competitive ways, because with competitive it can be like, oh, this is the deck you want to bring, but for me, who mainly plays non-competitive, I like to see more of these unique options that you can build specific decks around.
Well, even in the competitive landscape, all TCGs usually have meta that are built around a specific engine, generally, other than Pokemon, which is generally just built around a Pokemon that then you build support for it and etc. But like Yu-Gi-Oh! And Magic are built around a specific engine most of the time. And so you're exactly right. You're starting to see where you can start building around certain engines with this.
Our next card is another Ruby card. It's Mulan, Soldier in Training. Cost 4, uninkable, which is unfortunate. It's 4 strength, 3 willpower, and its ability is just Rush. I'm not a big Rush player. In fact, like when I hate, not so much hate, but when I have to play the Amber Amethyst starter deck, when I see those Rafikis, it's just like, ugh. There's like a couple times where it's been useful, but I don't really rely on Rush a lot when I play. I know that's why it's unfortunate because I like Milan a lot. The art on this card is awesome, but I probably won't be playing it too much because of the Rush factor on there. Though I'm sure a lot of people who do play with Rush-based decks, this will probably be a good card, though the uninkable still does make it kind of hurt a little bit more. It's very similar to like Rapunzel in the Ruby deck, who's cost 6, uninkable, but she at least allows the person to lose a lore.
There are plenty of other Rush that are exactly like this. I think the Maui that's in Ruby right now is 5 uninkable.
Is it? Okay.
And it's a Rush. And I think of like you said, in Amethyst, there's Rafiki, there's Zeus. It seems to be Rush characters they go with uninkable. Yeah. And I think that's supposed to be the drawback of getting to immediately put it out and challenge. And they always have higher strength because you want them to immediately go out and challenge. So that's where, I think that's where they try to get the drawback on it. I also am not a huge Rush player. I like to have a couple Rush cards in a deck because, like you said, for that situation. But I might play this because right now I know in my Ruby Emerald deck that I run, I specifically run that Maui, and if it is a 4 and Maui is a 5 and they both are still uninkable, I may switch into this. But yeah, Rush right now is a very situational person by person.
Yeah, it's because of because when you challenge, you take damage as well, which I think is the hard thing. So maybe there's a deck to be built around it. Hey, maybe future video there of building stuff around rush and healing cards that allow you to, rush out and then heal the characters after they deal damage.
That's something that is definitely thought about. Next card we have is, I guess I'm doing all the Emerald cards apparently because it's another Emerald card, and it's Panic, Underworld Imp. I love Pain and Panic from the Hercules movies. He is 3 cost uninkable, which not ideal. 2 strength, 3 willpower. And his ability is, I can handle it. When you play this character, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. And if the chosen character is named Pain, he gets +4 instead. He also can quest for 2 lore, which is nice, and he's a common card. So, I like this card, even though it is not inkable and it's a 3 cost. That starts to get into the range, like I generally say, if it's 3 or above and it's uninkable, you really have to want it in your deck. And for me, though, I like that you drop him down and he immediately buffs up a character or Pain.
For me, it's going to depend on what Pain looks like, I think. Because I'm assuming then that this Pain, because they don't do it all the time. 'Cause I believe there's no Peter Pan in Amethyst, but there's that Amethyst Tinkerbell that gives a buff to Peter Pan. Or, characters named Peter Pan. So we'll see what color Pain is in, because it might be very situational based on that. And also, maybe if he's I guess it wouldn't be useful if Pain was Rush, because Pain would have to be already in play. So it would all kind of depend on that, I think, for me. Just because, the 2 lore's nice, but I'm looking at that and it's I'd rather just run the Stolen Scimitar and Aladdin's, because that gives, +2 strength to your Aladdin. It's not +4, but, there's some pretty decent Aladdin cards out there, especially if you're running Emerald and Ruby. But, if Pain's pretty good, that could be another option instead.
I'm curious to see what Pain's lore ends up being, right? Because Panic is 2.
Yeah,
so
he's
will
probably
Pain...
1.
He's
more damage. I'm guessing he's more damage focused.
That's my guess as well, is that he'll be more the bruiser, and the point of dropping Panic down is to buff Pain for bruising, challenging and whatnot.
So going to see him being a cost 1/3, so he has a good amount of health. So then if he gets +4 damage, that's he's suddenly hitting for 5.
Yeah.
So that might be the case with him. Our final card we're going to talk about today is Capable Fighter Robin Hood. This is a steel card, Dreamborn Hero, uninkable, cost 2, but we're going to get into why I think that's kind of acceptable. He has a strength of only 1, willpower 3, but his ability is Skirmish, which is when you exert him, you just deal 1 damage to chosen character. So essentially, you can challenge any character, even if they're unchallengeable technically, and then just deal 1 damage to them without having to have him take straight, damage back, which I think is a really interesting ability there. It's still the same strength that he has, but you don't have to risk taking damage.
Yeah, you don't get hit back. Essentially Robin Hood's an archer, right? So it's essentially like taking a shot with an archer, because you get to pick where it goes rather than, I have to do this guy.
Shoot evasive, which makes sense with steel, being able to just choose and deal damage.
Yeah, the only thing it doesn't get through is obviously it doesn't get through any of the resists that we have coming now.
Yeah.
And it won't get through the ward.
But that's why he can also challenge then if they're warded.
Right.
So it's he has some good options, but I that's why it's even though it's uninkable, it's only cost 2, and I think that's a pretty good ability there to make up for it being uninkable.
Yeah, and this continues the trend of us seeing, we saw it with a previous card as well, that the trend of dealing damage to cards that are not exerted. And right here, this if Bucky didn't have ward, this would kill Bucky every single time. But since Bucky has ward, you cannot kill Bucky with this. So that goes back to our beginning card we talked about, why Bucky is so good with that ward ability on.
Here's the question though. Same ink color as the Huntress Belle. Better than the Belle card though?
No, I still think the Belle is the best card we've seen so far, but
Yeah, it's like if you know if somebody has Bell in their hand, you have to put a bunch of part of your worlds in your deck. So it's just like, God, I have 5 cards in my hand. I have to discard them all. Well, part of your world time, hopefully. Get my cards back. Yeah, because that's... Oh, man. Yeah, going all the way back to that card, but I'm just thinking, like, wow, that card... Like, how did that card make it through Q&A? That's so good. So that's all we have to discuss on all the new information coming from Rise of the Floodborn in Disney's Lorcana. If you're looking for more videos on Lorcana, check out the playlist or video here. Until next time, have fun and game on.
Stay questing.